Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today we're putting aside all those superficial buzzwords, and we're going to dive deep into how you actually go about choosing the right Agile framework for your team. We're breaking down the ultimate heavyweight matchup, Kanban versus Scrum. And look, this isn't just some debate about which software tool to use, right? It's a fundamental decision that literally defines your organization's entire culture and your team's everyday reality.
So let me ask you this. Does your team suffer from stress at the end of every sprint? I really want you to think about your team's stress levels during those final, frantic 48 hours of an iteration. Because honestly, this isn't just about dragging digital tickets across a board. We're talking about team survival here. We're talking about workflow health and stopping burnout dead in its tracks. We kind of need to reframe exactly how we think about our day-to-day operations.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. Section 1 is Scrum and Kanban, core concepts. 2 is structure, push versus pull. 3 is the human factor. 4 covers transition costs, and 5 is the decision tree.
Let's jump right in. Section 1, Scrum and Kanban, core concepts.
All right, first things first, we absolutely have to clear up a massive misconception. Agile is merely an umbrella of values. Prioritizing individuals, interactions, and adaptability over rigid, heavy processes. It is absolutely crucial to realize that Agile itself is not a methodology. It's just a set of principles. Underneath that broad umbrella, well, that's where specific, practical approaches sit side by side, which brings us directly to Scrum and Kanban.
Now, the core structural difference between these two, it's pretty stark. Scrum is a complete framework. It comes with fixed iterations, sprints, mandatory roles like the Scrum Master, specific events, the whole shebang. It essentially replaces your current process with a brand new structure. Kanban, on the flip side, is a continuous flow strategy. There are 0 prescribed roles and no mandatory meetings. Instead, Kanban is carefully overlaid onto your existing workflow to foster, evolutionary, step-by-step improvement.
Moving on to Section 2, Structure, Push versus Pull. Think of Scrum's mechanics like pushing a massive stack of paperwork onto someone's desk. Scrum essentially operates as a partial push system. During sprint planning, a closed batch of requirements is estimated and then pushed right into the upcoming sprint, and the team commits to getting it done. But the danger here? Well, if that estimation is overly optimistic, which, let's be honest, it usually is, the overload is typically only detected at the very end of the cycle when time is running out and absolute panic sets in. It relies heavily on your team's ability to perfectly predict the future, and who can really do that?
Now contrast that push mechanism with work in progress or WIP limits. This is the absolute mechanical core of Kanban. Rather than relying on human estimation during a planning meeting, Kanban introduces a hard structural constraint. By strictly limiting exactly how many items can be in progress at any given time, it mechanically prevents the whole system from collapsing under the weight of too much work.
The real game changer here is how Kanban utilizes a pull system. Imagine only pulling a new file onto your desk when your desk is actually clear. In Kanban, new tasks are pulled into the workflow only when there is a crystal clear signal of available capacity. So if your WIP limit is 5 and you already have 5 items in progress, the system automatically stops admitting new work. Boom! Overload is prevented by design rather than just hoping for perfect human forecasting.
All right, Section 3, the human factor.
So there's this widely recognized phenomenon out there known as the end-of-sprint merge crunch. And I mean, we've all been there, right? The first few days of a sprint are super calm, but then those final 2 days become this massive pressure cooker of stacked reviews, totally compressed testing, and, frankly, heavily caffeinated developers. When rigid sprint cycles are treated as these strict do-or-die deadlines rather than learning cycles, it induces immense artificial stress. And worse, it often forces developers to compromise on technical quality just to cross that finish line.
So we're looking at a fascinating trade-off here. Scrum gives you these protected but undeniably stressful cycles. It gives the team a shield against external interruptions during the sprint, sure, but the stress heavily peaks at those artificial deadlines. Kanban, conversely, offers this continuous, steady flow that distributes the workload much more equitably. But, and this is a big but, without the built-in events of Scrum, Kanban requires immense discipline. You absolutely must establish explicit review cadences. Actually, if you don't, that steady flow can super quickly turn into a monotonous, endless assembly line where you literally have no time to pause and reflect.
Which brings us to Section 4, transition costs. The economic and structural realities of change management here are night and day. Adopting Scrum is a major revolutionary transformation. It's kind of like taking a wrecking ball to your current setup. It requires serious executive sponsorship, building completely cross-functional teams, and changing job titles to fit roles like Scrum Master. It is high cost. Kanban is the exact opposite. It's evolutionary and it's low cost. You can literally start implementing Kanban next Monday just by overlaying it onto your current process, completely respecting your existing titles and organizational hierarchies. No wrecking ball required.
Now, if you're looking to smoothly transition from Scrum to Kanban, you need an orderly transition plan. 5 steps. First, map your actual workflow, warts and all. Second, and honestly this is critical, measure your baseline metrics, specifically your cycle time, before you change a single thing. That is exactly how you secure executive buy-in. Third, set progressive WIP limits so you don't completely shock the system. Fourth, clearly document your explicit flow policies. And fifth, maintain a regular review cadence so you can continually improve.
And finally, Section 5, the decision tree.
Let's make this objective. Step 1 involves some rapid evaluation filters. First, you gotta ask, is it a large-scale project? If yes, the research points directly to Kanban. Why? Because massive, large-scale programs suffer from isolated sprint fragmentation when you use Scrum. Kanban's systemic, end-to-end approach is just far superior there. But if it's not a massive project, ask the second question. Does it require a strictly prioritized backlog from day one? If yes, then Scrum is your answer. If neither of those applies, we move right on to Step 2.
And Step 2, leadership can use 6 criteria to score their specific context. Ask yourselves, do you focus more on team interactions or tools? Do you need fixed sprints or continuous flow? Do you want to lock in requirements at delivery or adapt to changes at literally any time? You just assign 1 point to Scrum or 1 point to Kanban for each of these criteria entirely based on your organization's true on-the-ground reality.
Once you tally up those points, the scoring outcomes are super straightforward. If Kanban scores higher, implement Kanban. If Scrum scores higher, implement Scrum. But wait, what if it's a tie? A tie objectively indicates that you have a mixed operational profile. In that scenario, forcing a pure framework would be a huge mistake. Instead, a hybrid approach like Scrumban, which blends the structure of Scrum with the pull mechanics and WIP limits of Kanban, is absolutely the right choice for your team.
To wrap up this explainer today, I'm going to leave you with a decisive question to evaluate your own operation. Can you reliably plan your work 2 weeks in advance? Think about it. If you can, Scrum provides incredible focus, rhythm, and delivery momentum. But if you face unpredictable demand, constant emergencies, and constantly shifting priorities, forcing a 2-week plan is just going to create a ton of frustration. In that case, Kanban is purpose-built to efficiently manage that variability. So look at your backlog tomorrow morning and ask yourself, are we blindly pushing work into a timeline, or are we truly ready to pull work based on reality?